Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I woke up real bright and early to go ride Hazel, and we have the whole place to ourselves. The reason is that Hazel has been filling up a little bit, so her back legs are starting to kind of swell overnight or when she's in her stall, which is not life-threatening or anything like that, but it's making her quite I feel like quite uncomfortable. We do have to make sure we put her boots tight, and obviously with some exercise the blood flows back to normal and then the legs look better. But I've noticed in the last few bits that her legs were just sometimes still a little bit puffy after we're done exercise, so it just kind of makes me a little bit worried, even though I know it's not like the end of the world if they are puffy. So what I opted to do is to get her an appointment with a PEMF specialist to help kind of get the blood flow going. Shortly I will have a video about what PEMF is and what it can do for your horse, so you guys know what kind of therapy that is. But Hazel has been using on and off those services for different reasons. The first one was because I feel like it really helps to kind of relax the muscle mass overall, so it just really kind of decontracts the muscle and helps with the blood flow. Another time she was lame on her front right leg for the second time last winter, and I decided to go ahead and get the PEMF in there. There was no external signs of her having any issues or bruises or anything like that would have caused her to be lame. She had been checked by her farrier and confirmed that there was no abscess, nothing going on there, so we're just kind of at a loss. So I invited our PEMF specialist and she came out, and apparently Hazel would have had pulled a muscle which would have been right into her armpit area, and with PEMF it really kind of helps to kind of narrow it down. The way the machine works kind of shows you the areas that are a little bit more damaged than others, and so it helps to kind of put not necessarily a diagnostic on it, but just kind of helps you to see what area are a little bit in need of some TLC. So today we will be just training by herself on the outdoors. As you can see, we're still doing a fair bit amount of canter. We still want to get that canter work done and try to make it a little bit longer as we go. So I would like for Hazel to carry her canter for a little bit longer if she can. But every single time we practice, it's matter of seconds. So every time you try it again, it's one more second and so on. Eventually seconds make minutes, and then you're able to have a nice collected canter for a longer period of time. So I have here my draw reins as well as my show dressage bridle, and I find that Hazel was definitely on the forehand that day. She was also had a lot of energy stocked in, so that's why I had a lot of adjustments to do. So here what I'm doing is I'm just going on the ground to kind of tie up my draw reins, just because the way they are now, sometimes they're dragging as I am cantering and they end up being caught on my leg, on my stirrups, and I just don't want any accident. If she was to spook and my leg is stuck in there, it wouldn't be good for me. I would be probably dragged along because the reins are just kind of making a knot around my foot while we're cantering mostly. I'm usually able to kind of deal with it on the trot or at the walk, but the canter is really hard to keep those really long draw reins together and prevent them to make a knot or just tie around my foot. So what I do is I usually just kind of do a simple knot with it and just make them a little shorter, so I have it's a little bit more secure if ever there's anything. And as I said, that day Hazel was just like go go go. She had a lot of energy. So she was a bit of a handful that day, so I had to really work hard to get her to kind of supple, get a little bit more supple and a little bit more relaxed, because all she wanted to do is just move forward, get the work done. I know sometimes it's early in the morning, so she has a little bit more energy than if she would have been in turnout, but it's okay. Sometimes, you know, you have to do what you have to do, and I'd rather ride my horse before she gets any kind of therapy than not ride it at all, and then she's off for 3 to 4 days. So here, going on a canter, as you can see, it's getting much better now. I get the rear end engagement a little bit quicker than I used to. It's still a little bit rocky, especially when she's like very forward, like today. So I have to really kind of pace her and try to collect her and bend her at the same time. And sometimes it just gets a little bit overwhelming. A lot of work from my part to get it to look really nice. I'm mostly just trying to get some energy out of this girl safely. That's why you'll see me go long, make circles, canter, trot, and just kind of get that energy kind of going and leaving her a little bit, so I can actually manage a little bit better what we're doing afterwards. So this is still part of our warm-up. I just really want her to be responsive, pay attention, and so we can actually get some work done. So here it is. I picked up a different side canter here, and I'm going long. Like I said, I'm really trying to drain that energy as much as I can. So I'm asking her to work a lot harder. I had to go diagonally because she missed basically the turn properly at the end there, so I had to kind of just cut it short. And she was also very forward, and I wasn't able to really put her back the way I wanted to. So I'm like, I'm gonna go cut in a diagonal. And she won't have a choice to basically slow down and then eventually just kind of walk for a second, so like that we can pick up the other side. Hazel does not know any lead changes or anything like that at this point, so every time we fall off on the counter canter for her, she's gonna slow down and stop, so we can just regroup and start again. So she's pretty used to that. It just gets really difficult when she's, you know, on the counter canter. We have yet to do the lead changes and teach her to do that, and then eventually we'll start working on her counter canter as well to get that a little bit smoother than it is. So because she is very into my hand that morning, I have to back her up quite a bit, just because it's a bit of a power struggle here. She's leaning right into my hand, and I have to really make a lot of effort to keep my hands where they are, which I don't really appreciate. It makes it really hard and a tough ride for me, and it's also very, I don't know, it's not, you know, the worst thing, but it's very annoying on the long run, just because we get really tired from holding it. You feel like you're holding the whole horse in your hands. It's just very, very heavy and intense for your muscles. So when you're trying to do any kind of work and you just have all that weight in your hand, it's just not very fun at all. So I'm just making sure that she's following and she's self-carrying herself a little bit, because sometimes it just gets too much. So because she is so on the forehand this morning, I didn't really have to use my whip, so it gives me a better control of my reins when I don't have the whip in my hand. So I just make sure I just toss that out. I have a huge issue getting her to just pace herself and slow down a little bit, and so I didn't really need that whip at all. So I just tossed that for now, get a better control of the rein so we can achieve some nice trot and canter work on both sides. So after 2 little backups and getting her off my hands, I'm gonna be ready to canter her again. And so far it's just proven that my technique worked to get some energy out of the horse, because she's picking up the canter much more smoothly than before. She's not kind of bolting into it, and it makes it a little bit more pleasurable for me to ride that way. So as you can see, we're getting some nice quality transition now, so downwards and upwards, which is really good. She was a little bit distracted as well that morning. I could feel there was some kind of energy surplus that I had to clear out just in the background, but overall at least she started to kind of really pay attention to what I was asking and just really apply herself here. So here we just try out once again, but on that side, which is her tougher side, she always kind of picks up the wrong lead. So it's really hard for me to just kind of make her pay attention and get that right second to ask her for it. What I've noticed is even if I like really bend her, she's just not using her legs properly in the front to pick up the correct canter. So we're gonna have to work a little bit more on that, which is not too bad. I mean, we only have maybe that one side to work on a little bit more than the other, but I'm confident we're gonna get this soon enough. Another thing that Hazel tends to do on that side is throw her shoulders inwards as well, which makes it really difficult to kind of move around. It just feels like you have a post on the inside and then you really have to make huge effort to go around while you're asking for the next speed up. So it just makes it really hard. So first I'm just gonna make sure that I have the proper bend, that her shoulders are not in the way before I ask her for anything. Like, she needs to be almost overly bent to the inside, so I ensure that I have a good grip, a good canter afterwards. So sometimes I notice also that she gets really upset when I'm asking her to do something multiple times. It's just like, I guess she's just not understanding what I want, and she just gets herself a little bit more frustrated about it. She's overall a good sport, like she's a good girl, but it's just that sometimes she just gets, she's probably like a perfectionist. She just really doesn't like to be told the same thing over and over again, and she just doesn't understand it, and she's just doing her best, and that's when I feel like she's getting herself a little bit frustrated. As you can see here, just going to the back of the arena here for a second, changing scenery, really kind of helps her to just stay with me and get out of that frustration, and we can get some pretty nice results here. So as my coach suggested, on this side, since I'm having a harder time, she suggested that I could do like quicker transitions, so trot to canter, canter to trot, a little bit quicker, so like that I avoid from her like just losing it and starting to lose her canter, and just stay focused on the game, and I can control the in and the out of the canter transition. So because I have an appointment coming up for the PMF, I'm just going to end my little session there for the riding. But I felt in the background that she had a little bit too much energy, which doesn't make her that much rideable when she's like that. So I decided to go ahead and just give her like a quick 10-15 minutes lunge before the specialist got to the barn. So after changing her setup here, I just put her on a simple lunge line. She has a cavesson in her on her face, and that really helps to have a good control. But as you'll be able to see, she gets pretty riled up. She at this point she's used to it. So usually I use the lunging as a kind of an energy outlet. So if she wants to buck, she can buck. If she wants to go a little nuts and gallop, she can do that as well. That's something that she's not allowed to do with me, but on the lunge line she gets herself worked up like that, which is fine. I mean, it's an energy outlet, like I said, but as you can see here, she has lots of energy to give, a little bit of bucking, a little bit of galloping, but yeah, at least with the lunge line, what I do is it ensures that you're kind of safe with it. You know exactly where the horse is at all times. And here Hazel got a little bit distracted and she was getting caught into her lunge line. Sometimes what she does, which I don't really like when we're doing this kind of work, is she cuts through the circle. And so it's a little bit, it takes a lot of effort to really gather that lunge line like really fast when she's cutting through the circle like that. So what happens is if she cuts through the circle, the lunge line might just touch the ground and she'll go over it. So I was trying to already get her to kind of slow down just so I can fix that up, but she got herself riled up with the boys in the paddock, and that's what ended up happening. Nothing too bad. Usually I don't let go of the lunge line, but she was getting really entangled in there, so I'd rather, make sure that she's safe and just stop it there. Just take a second and get the lunge line together. And after this move, I just decided to keep it short on the lunge line here, so like that it doesn't get tangled if she cuts through. She usually cuts through it if ever it's a bigger circle. However, on a small one, she just doesn't usually, need to cut through. She's almost like right where I am, so it just keeps a little bit more control that way. But yeah, sometimes I just like to give her a nice long lunge line just because it's bigger circles. So it just, get her to work a little bit faster without doing as many circles, if that makes sense. So really important to make sure that you go on both directions. That's just to help with muscling and everything like that. The horse is still considered as working, so it's still a good exercise, but you have to make sure that if they're going on one direction, you just don't, you don't just stick to one direction, you make it go to the other as well, so they can muscle up the other side evenly. And as you can see here, she's still going at it. She still has all that energy. And that's something you feel in the saddle. It's just like you feel that kind of itchiness for liberty. Basically you just feel like they just want to go and take you with them. So you have this little jittery, I find like it's like a little jittery motion as you're asking them for anything. And it just feels like you have a lot to handle at the same time. You gotta handle their emotion, you gotta handle their energy level, and then you gotta handle in her case, she was very on the forehand, so she was really into my hands, so you have to handle her weight, and there's just a lot of things to handle at the same time. So I decided that lunging would be a great outlet for that, so I don't have to worry about how she's going to be the next time I'm going to ride her. It takes her a little bit of time to build up all that energy, extra energy, and so sometimes it's just good to just clear out the bank, make sure there's no more energy stored, extra energy stored, and so we can just have a nice calm horse when we're doing our lessons. And here we are, we're almost to the end of this lunging exercise. And as you can see, she's no longer feel the need to gallop. She's more controllable. So what I usually do in that case is I'm just starting to ask with vocal commands, to ask her to walk, to trot, to canter, and just go up and down with all these speeds. So that's when I feel like she has the most concentration and she can actually pay attention and listen. Then it's valuable for me to just, you know, get her to work on whatever I want her to work. But before that, I feel like it's just, you know, it's not really productive. If the horse has a lot of energy, it's like having a kid that's, you know, on a sugar high and you're trying to get them to sit down for a class. Well, you know, it's just they have this extra energy that, you know, won't make it easy for them to get that task done the way you want it. So that's really important to get all that excess energy out, and then you're gonna have focus. You're gonna have control, and that, you know, you're going through the right path. So that's what I'm waiting for usually when I put her on the lunge line. It's like, okay, go crazy, do what you gotta do. But you know, as soon as she's starting to settle, then I can just do something a little bit more productive with her. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed filming it for you guys. Please don't hesitate to give me a nice thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, that would be really helpful, and please leave some comments so I can read and see what you guys are thinking. Do you also have a thoroughbred, and are they, you know, a little bit of an energy bank like mine? I can't wait to read from you, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.